parents now, and this is very controversial, but a lot of parents, or a portion of parents, are being permissive parents, where they are caring more about their children's feelings versus what is actually good for the child, not telling the child no. Gentle parenting, it's a hot commodity right now. It's all over TikTok. There's lots of videos about it. People are constantly talking about it. There's people that are for it. There are people that are ultra against it. Let's talk about if gentle parenting is really as problematic as people are making out to be, or is it really something that can benefit the next generation? So in order to talk about gentle parenting and the misunderstandings and what it's actually meant to be, we have to talk about the 4 different types of parenting styles. There's subtypes and subcategories of parenting styles, like helicopter parents or tiger parenting or snowplower parenting. But we're going to talk about the main 4 types of parenting styles. 3 of them were researched by psychologist Diana Baumrind, and then 1 of them was later discovered by Eleanor McVeigh and Martin. So the 3 original ones that were researched by Baumrind were permissive, authoritarian, and authoritative. So gentle parenting originally was and is supposed to represent authoritative parenting, but people misunderstand, especially when they don't do their research. They think gentle parenting is permissive parenting. So we're first going to talk about permissive parenting and the problems with permissive parenting and how it affects children. So with gentle parenting, it sounds like oh, you're supposed to be really gentle and like soft and consider the children's feelings, and so that's one of the biggest reasons why people think like gentle parenting is BS and why it's actually hurting children, which they're correct to some degree. It's the misrepresentation of gentle parenting and the misunderstanding and the lack of research of gentle parenting that is causing the problem. So let me elaborate and explain, and you'll understand after I go through permissive parenting. So with permissive parenting, this is where the children are actually in charge. This is where you will see, and there's been like TikToks and jokes about it, where the parents are like, please, can you not do that? Please don't hit me. And then the kid hits them again. They're like, please just don't hit me. I don't want you to hit me. Like, the kid's in charge. Why is the kid not going to continue to do it if there's no real consequence? And that's what with permissive parenting is. There's no activated consequence. With these parents, they set rules but rarely enforce them. They will say something, but they won't follow through on what they said. This parenting is where you care more about the child's feelings versus what's actually best for them. Consequences aren't given very often, and these types of parents believe that children do better with little interference from them. These types of parents are just like, kids will be kids, and they kind of brush things off. These types of parents are friends more than actual parents. They let their children do what they want when they want. With things like, for instance, if the kid says they want candy for dinner, they get to eat candy for dinner. These types of parents are overly lenient, and they only step in when there's a serious problem. They overly and constantly cater to their children's needs and wants, but without boundaries or discipline. So this may appear neglectful, and it is to a certain degree, but it's not complete negligence. It's not where they're not present. They're present and they're there, but they're just overindulging their children. Or when it comes to punishments, or when the children do something wrong, they may give them a punishment and then they'll take it back too quickly, and they don't follow through on the punishment or for how long the punishment should be. Maybe the kid will plead and then the parent will take them out of that punishment, or they'll give that child their video game earlier than they said that they would get their video game. Like, they don't follow fully through on the punishment. They just say, oh, okay, you were punished for a little bit, you learned your lesson, right? Or if the child will beg, and then the parent will say, okay, but promise you're gonna be better next time, okay? It's basically, and don't get offended by this, but it's basically what comedians will make fun of white people for. Now, what this type of parenting style does is it shows the child to disrespect authority. And even you will see these types of parents fight authority for their child and their child's bad behavior. The child really can do no wrong. This type of parenting is one of the parenting styles that creates narcissists. So how will this type of parenting affect the child and their upbringing? And let's pay attention to how some of this generation Alpha, you know, the generation that's coming up now, see how they relate and have some of these similar things that we're going to talk about. So these types of children learn that they are the boss. They don't learn to respect authority or rules. They think they're in charge. They get whatever they want when they want. They have behavioral problems. They may not be well liked by their peers or authority figures or like parents of parents or parents of their friends rather. They lack responsibility. They lack the ability to emotionally regulate and to have control over their emotions, especially because they get whatever they want when they want. So they don't have to deal with their uncomfortable emotions. They can just get outside stimulation to make themselves feel better. And when they don't get it, you'll see with these iPad kids, they will freak out. They will throw a tantrum. They'll throw themselves on the floor. They don't act appropriately in public because they're not used to shame or any negative natural consequences. It's just they're supposed to get what they want, and they know to react badly or behave poorly to get what they want because the parent will then give it to them. These children also will struggle with problem-solving skills, and they'll struggle with anxiety. They also will deal with depression, and they will give up when it comes to challenges and adversity in life. They're used to feeling good in the moment, and they're used to feeling good, immediate, instant gratification. So when they don't get that, they will then move on to the next thing and find the next thing that will give them instant gratification. So really, they don't need to solve a problem. They just need to get what they want immediately. They also don't put effort into things, and they're very impulsive. These type of children are and become egocentric adults, selfish, and entitled. These children also are more likely to struggle with obesity and cavities because they don't learn proper eating habits or sleeping habits, and they don't have good hygiene, or they're not taught how to take care of themselves because their parents don't enforce these healthy behaviors for them, and so then they don't learn it, and then they are more likely to struggle with these things. They are never told no, and they don't learn or understand the consequences of their behaviors. So if you go through the checklist, you can see a lot of children, or you know, teachers are always complaining about these types of behaviors in children, and that's because parents now, and this is very controversial, but a lot of parents, or a portion of parents, are being permissive parents, where they are caring more about their children's feelings versus what is actually good for the child, not telling the child no. And this is a result of the boomer parents and the type of style of parenting they did, which was authoritarian, which we will talk about at the end. So you want to stick to the end of this video so you can find out what boomer parents had done, and even their generation of parents. Now, like I said, this is what people think gentle parenting is supposed to be, that permissive parenting. What really the type of style of parenting, what is intended when it's talked about gentle parenting, is authoritative parenting. Now hear me out. When you hear authoritative, it may sound like the sergeant, the person who bosses everyone around, but that's not what it is. Authoritative is actually the type of parenting style that experts say is the golden standard. It is the most effective parenting style and the most developmentally healthy parenting style. Research has found kids that have authoritative parents are more likely to become confident, responsible adults who feel comfortable self-advocating and expressing their opinions and feelings. So what is this authoritative parenting? You may be wondering. I'm talking it up so much. What is it? Stop talking. Just say what it is. Authoritative parenting is when the parent is the one who has the final say and sets boundaries, but the child has a say in things, and the child's feelings are also heard and validated. Even if the parent makes a call that the child isn't necessarily happy with, it's still one that benefits the child, but also considers how much it will affect the child, and it's not to the extreme. So the child has some sort of say, maybe there'll be some compromising and communicating, but ultimately the parent will have the final say. With this type of parenting style, it provides a balance of structure and independence. Children can grow within reasonable boundaries and explore who they are. These parents put a lot of effort into maintaining a positive relationship and open conversation with their children. When it comes to rules, they explain and discuss their rules with their child, and things are always open for discussion. Questions are always welcome, and parents will provide those answers for them. With this type of parenting style, they set limits, enforce rules, and give consequences, but they always consider their child's feelings and how it will affect them. They use positive reinforcement like praise and rewards. So they give boundaries and rules, but they allow their children to have freedom to make decisions. That means that children can have a say in things that aren't a big deal, but when it comes to the bigger decisions and things that maybe are potentially dangerous or affect the child in a negative type of way, the parent will have a final say. And even then, the parent will have an open discussion and will consider what the child has to say, but still, again, will have that final say. So this is what gentle parenting really is. The parent's the one in charge, but they still validate their child's feelings. For instance, you're at the park with your toddler, and your toddler obviously doesn't want to leave and starts throwing a tantrum. And so you validate that child's feelings and say, listen, I know you were having a lot of fun and it's so hard to leave. I know you're feeling frustrated and angry. However, we have to go home to dinner. It's dinner time. And so then you take the child and you bring them to the car. And here's the thing, toddlers are really difficult. It's a really difficult age to deal with. And people will be like, okay, what do I do if the child's kicking and screaming or runs away? In that instance, what you do is you go down to your child's level and you say, okay, we're gonna go to the car. You can either walk by yourself or mommy is going to carry you. You give them options. When you give them options, then they can make a decision, or you make the decision for them. So you get the final say, but you still give them that openness to say, hey, I want to have an input in it too. Like, they're not getting what they want of staying at the park, but they get an input of how they want to go home. So it still gives them that freedom to be able to decide things, but they're not the one who's making the decision of what the final outcome is, which is to go home. With this type of parenting, you're investing time and energy to prevent bad behaviors. And also with this type of parenting, you see mistakes as a learning experience and not something to shame your child about. And there are always clear expectations, and it's not wishy-washy or confusing. So with this parenting style, there's a balance of being nurturing and warm, but still instilling boundaries and the importance of discipline and being responsible and respectful. Now, how does this affect the child? Children have been studied to be more confident and happy and successful. They can trust themselves and know how to trust others because they do trust themselves. They have positive self-talk, and they have a love for themselves. They can evaluate safety risk and make decisions on their own. They have genuine self-discipline, and you may be wondering, what do I mean by that? I'm going to explain what I mean further when I talk about the authoritarian parenting. But they can hold themselves accountable, and they're not having this discipline out of fear of what could potentially happen or the fear of being punished. They also have close nurturing relationships and closeness with their parents. They are responsible and respectful. They are less likely to have aggression or resentment, and they can emotionally regulate. They have control over their emotions, and they can, calm themselves down in really difficult situations. They're less likely to have anxiety or depression. They can clearly and articulate, if that's a word, express their emotion. They're more likely to speak up for themselves, and they are less likely to be people pleasers. They also have healthy relationships with not only themselves, but also with other people, and they're more likely to be successful and they're very confident in themselves and who they are. Now, like I was saying earlier, why did gentle parenting come about? Why did it become permissive parenting? And that's because of authoritarian parenting and negligent parenting. And this is because of you shouldn't even say boomers, I should say the baby boomers' extreme authoritarian type parenting style. Authoritarian parenting is described as dictatorial and overbearing. The kids are expected to obey without giving reason. This type of parenting style has been known for kids to be seen and not heard. It's the parents' way or no way. Children's feelings don't matter and they should never be taken into consideration. When children ask why, common phrases that have been said are, "Because I said so." "Don't question me, do as I say." Questioning me is disrespectful. What's harsh about it is rules are strict with no compromise or no communication, and no discussion, questioning, or interpretation. There's no room for that. With this type of parenting, the child is expected to be very disciplined, and when they don't follow through to those high expectations and standards, then extreme punishment is usually followed. With this parenting, it's completely different from authoritative parenting. This is where the parents have all the say and the children have no say. This is where it's like a drill sergeant. It's hard to communicate with them. They're not lenient and they're hardly nurturing. It may have been a very cold household, or is a cold household. This type of parenting is a parenting style that has gone on for many generations, where they think that respect has to be demanded, or apologies have to be demanded, or punishment is necessary in order for children to be respectful and succeed in life. It's a very egocentric to the parents type of parenting style, and because of how extreme it is, it then causes the children to have extreme reactions, which then passes on to their children to do either the same type of parenting or the complete opposite type of parenting. Now, how this affects the children is they don't form genuine self-discipline. If you're interested in self-discipline, I have a video that I'll put right here. So children don't form genuine discipline, but more so fear-based discipline. So they will do things when authority tells them to, or they'll do things out of the fear of being punished or consequences. But when it comes to genuine self-discipline and doing things for themselves, they lack that ability because they don't learn to healthily trust and do things on their own. They're taught, I have to do this or a bad thing's going to happen, and that's not genuine discipline. So they can do things, so children will learn how to do things for others if there's a punishment involved, but they won't do things for themselves. And this is where you may see this type of person, especially in adulthood, is they will have a messy room, or they will maybe be overweight or just not healthy. They don't eat healthy, they don't take care of themselves well, their mental health isn't well. Now, in childhood, you often see these children, they'll be well behaved at home, but outside of the home they will rebel, and they will rebel with their friends, their peers, with authority figures. These children will feel low about themselves and they will struggle socially. They will also be followers, and they will have a really hard time making decisions on their own, and they will be pretty indecisive. And this comes from the lack of feeling like they have a say in anything, and that they can make decisions, and that they're smart, well-capable people. Like, that was taken away from them, and they had a controlling authority figure that tried to use their mind over the children's mind. So it was more important of what the parent thought rather than what the child thought. These children also will seek validation from authority or from their outside peers. They also will have a really hard time on being able to detect right from wrong on their own. They always feel like they have to be told what's right or wrong, or they're constantly question what is right and wrong from not being able to form their own opinion. These children also have a lot of hostility and aggression and have a hard time regulating their own emotions. And with that comes anger issues. And these people may be really passive aggressive, or they will just have anger issues and be angry at the really small things because they can't express their anger about the bigger things. These people and these children generally are shamed for having any type of emotion. They have to suppress their emotions, and they're supposed to be the certain type of person that their authoritarian parent makes them feel they should be. Like, feelings are not allowed or welcome in that household. It's do as I say type of household, which just leads to them feeling out of control, and they become really resentful. And another thing they struggle with is they have a poor judge of character, because they are not able to have open discussion with their parents, or they don't learn what healthy dynamics look like. And so because of that, they only know these authoritarian type parents, and they then think like the outside world should also treat them that way, and so they don't know how to judge people accordingly. Research has also shown that these children are more likely to struggle with substance abuse and depression because of all of the suppressing all of their emotions and their feelings, and they feel invalidated and worthless from this type of parenting style. This is not a way to get a child's respect. This is not a way to treat a child. They are not just something you're supposed to control and where they're not allowed to have feelings. That is one of the most unhealthy ways to parent a child, for sure. And then the last one, which is pretty self-explanatory, which is the negligent parenting, which is also a type of parenting that has been over the generations from boomer later on. And I mean, it's still a parenting style that exists today, but it's something that's more frowned upon. These parents are not involved. They don't attend to their child's physical or emotional needs. They don't ask the child how they're doing. They don't know who their child's hanging out with. They don't ask how school's going. They don't help them with their homework. They don't spend time with the child. They don't have many rules or expectations for the child. The child is just on their own. Basically, with these parents, it's almost like the child is a bird flying out of the nest on their own. These parents also ignore their child and give their child very little nurturing or guidance. The child's expected to raise themselves. These parents also think that the child can do better without them, and they lack knowledge about the child's development. One of the most common reasons why a parent is like this is because they have mental issues themselves, or they have a substance abuse problem, or they had negligent parents or neglectful parents growing up, so they think this is the norm. They just don't know how to attend to their child's emotional or physical needs. And this is not an excuse, it's just an explanation. Now, how does this affect the child? You can imagine it's pretty bad. Researchers have shown and mentioned that these types of children have the worst outcomes. And they are the most likely to experience substance abuse problems, which is pretty self-explanatory. So these children will act out without guidance or structure, which that makes sense. They don't have anyone to make them feel safe, so what are they going to do? Obviously they're going to act out. They're children, their brains are underdeveloped, they're in their emotional parts of their brain, they're trying to survive. They are more likely to rebel, be thieves, sexually assault others. They're more likely to be in gang involvement. They have lower empathy and cognitive development, terrible self-esteem, harder time forming bonds, which that makes sense. They're not taught how to have relationships, so they may avoid relationships altogether, and they're not able to have and develop a constant relationship with others. Their academics will suffer, they'll have depression, and they will act out for attention. So these are the main 4 types of parenting styles, and as you can see that there has been some confusion of what gentle parenting really is. It's really supposed to be authoritative type of parenting, where it should be a healthy balance. Children should have a say because they're still humans at the end of the day, and you're raising a child to become little adults. They're not here to just do what you say when you say it. Even if you come from a loving place where you want to make sure your child's okay and they're succeeding, the type of way you parent really affects your child long term. So it's so important that you always see your child as a type of equal in human, not when it comes to the final say. Like, there needs to be boundaries. Children crave structure and they crave boundaries because that gives them safety, and they like to know what to expect. The world's new, they're new here, they don't know what's going on, and when they know what to expect, they can feel a lot safer, and it's your job to help for them to be able to learn how to navigate through the world. It's not your job to be fun, it's not your job to save them from the world. Your job's to help teach them how to navigate through this crazy world, and a little bit fun on the side. You know, the fun time's important, but you can see the other parenting styles are to the extreme. Authoritative parenting is where there's a healthy balance, and that's what's most important. And like I said, there are the subtypes, but you want to focus on how do I help my child have a healthy balance. And you're not going to always get it right, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to do some of the mess up things your parents have done, and you're going to realize, oh shoot, like I messed up. And it's okay. And it's not just the mess ups that matter, it's about how you come back from the mess ups that really matter, and how to show your child how you make amends and how you come back from it. That's the most important. And obviously there are certain things that are like you can't come back from because they're too extreme, like if you chop your child's hands off, which God forbid, hope you don't do that, but you know what I'm saying. Most mistakes you can make amends and come back from. So what do you guys think? How do you feel about gentle parenting? Do you think that it hurts the next generation? Do you think it could be helpful? Do you think there's lack of understanding? Leave it all in the comments below, and please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with someone you think may need it. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye guys. Not discovered, what's the word? Founded? 3 of them were founded by, they're not founded.